Hello everybody, this is Dr. Sherry Taul again, and today on this video we are going to be dissecting a sheep brain today. First of all, let's start off with some pictures so we can kind of get an idea of what we're going to be looking at on our cadaver samples. This is just a general picture of a brain, just to get you oriented. This area up here will be the nose of the sheep. His tail end is more back here, the caudal aspect of the sheep. So this is just a side view of how the brain is sitting inside the skull. This front area up here is what we call the olfactory bulb. It is what receives information on the sense of smell of the sheep, and it also extends into this frontal lobe here that deals with smell and also the motor functioning of the sheep. To move into this pink area, this is more of the temporal lobe. It deals with also with smell and also the hearing ability of the sheep. We move into the orange area, which is the parietal lobe. It's kind of a sensory area for the sheep, but it does not deal with vision or hearing or smell in that animal. The other areas deal with that. And then we also have this blue area, which is the occipital lobe, and it is where the visual input is coming in to determine what the sheep is seeing through his eyes. So all of this colored in area here is our cerebrum, and our cerebellum is this little back area back in here. Down here we have the part of the brain that becomes the spinal cord. This is the area known as the pons. This is the medulla oblongata, and traveling on out, we'll go over a little bit of those functioning too. So if you're looking down at the sheep straight on, you can kind of see here that there is a longitudinal fissure that separates the separate lobes of the brain. We've got two different hemispheres, we call them. We'll notice on the cadaver a term called sulci and gyri. The sulci are the little holes or the little lines, the little fissures that we see in the brain. The gyri are the little knobbiness, or the part that stands out in between the fissures of the brain. And again, you can see the same areas. We've got occipital lobe, parietal lobe, frontal lobe, and we really can't see the temporal lobe too well on just directly looking down. It is underneath that fissure area. So when we cut into the brain, we're actually going to be just dissecting it in half and looking at a cross section of the brain. We can see here we have the cerebral area all through here, the cerebrum, and it is divided up into different areas or different lobes. We've got the frontal lobe here, parietal lobe in this area, occipital lobe in this area, and the cerebellum is its own little area of the brain. The cerebellum is also known as the little brain, and it's also called the arbor vitae, which means in Latin it is the tree of life. And then we also have areas of the brain like the pineal body, which is the area that produces hormones in the body, and the thalamus and the hypothalamus that help with bodily functions and also. And we'll be going through each of these on our samples. Okay, so to look at just the outside of the brain, again, we'll orient. This would be the sheep's nose up at this end. This is going back towards the tail. So we have our lateral fissure down here. We have two different hemispheres of the cerebrum here. Just to look at the general areas, we have olfactory bulb around this area here. This section is frontal lobe. We have parietal lobe about the center of the area, And then towards the back here is where eyesight is interpreted in the occipital lobe. Temporal lobe is going to be back up under there. I can't really see it from the outside. One interesting fact, we're not really going to go into a whole lot of the nerves that come out of the brain, but since we've already done the eye and the sheep, this here is part of the optic nerve that goes in to supply the occipital lobe with what the eye is seeing. It interprets what the eye is seeing. And we had done the sheep eye earlier, and we have the occipital nerve coming out of the back of the eye that we had looked at earlier. And actually this would be attached to this area of the brain